When World War II drew toward its catastrophic end, dozens of powerful German commanders vanished from the battlefield, some into prison cells, others into history books. One of the most unexpected figures to briefly inherit the collapsing Third Reich was Karl Dönitz, the man who commanded Germany's deadly U-boat fleet and, for a short moment, became Hitler's successor. Dönitz was not a politician by nature. He was a naval officer through and through, disciplined, methodical, and ruthlessly efficient. During the height of the Battle of the Atlantic, his submarine fleet nearly starved Britain into submission. For several years, German U-boats dominated the seas, sinking Allied supply ships faster than they could be replaced. The Atlantic became a graveyard of steel and sailors. But technology, intelligence breakthroughs, and stronger Allied coordination eventually turned the tide. By late 1943, German submarines were being hunted faster than they could strike. Losses mounted, morale declined, and the once feared wolf packs were slowly neutralized. Then, on April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler took his own life. In a bizarre twist of fate, leadership of the collapsing Reich passed not to a general or politician, but to Dönitz. Operating from the town of Flensburg near the Danish border, he formed a short-lived administration now known as the Flensburg government. His goal was not victory, it was damage control. Dönitz sought to surrender German forces to the Western Allies while delaying capitulation to the Soviet Union for as long as possible. Just days later, Germany officially surrendered. With that, Dönitz's brief political role ended, and his fate shifted from ruler to prisoner. At the Nuremberg Trials, Dönitz stood accused of crimes against peace and violations of international warfare law, especially related to unrestricted submarine warfare. While some charges failed to stick, he was found guilty on others and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Unlike many of his peers, Dönitz survived incarceration. Released in 1956, he quietly returned to civilian life in West Germany. He later published his memoirs, attempting to distance himself from Nazi atrocities and portray Dönitz as a purely military professional. Whether history accepts that claim remains deeply contested. He spent his final years in near solitude, dying in 1980, one of the last surviving top-tier figures of the Third Reich. If Dönitz represented the final breath of Nazi leadership, then Gerd von Rundstedt symbolized the old Prussian military tradition that Hitler attempted to bend to his will. By the time World War II began, von Rundstedt was already considered a veteran of earlier wars and a pillar of Germany's officer class. Initially reluctant to serve under the Nazi regime, he was called back into service when war broke out. He commanded large army groups during Germany's early triumphs, including the invasion of Poland and the Lightning Campaign through Western Europe. His strategic skill contributed to the rapid collapse of France in 1940. Yet, as the war dragged on, his relationship with Hitler deteriorated. Von Rundstedt repeatedly argued for tactical withdrawals instead of fanatical last stands. One of his most famous clashes with Hitler came on the Eastern Front, when he authorized a retreat to avoid total destruction of his forces. For this, he was dismissed, then later reinstated when the situation worsened. During the Allied invasion of Normandy in 1944, von Rundstedt was again called upon. Alongside Rommel, he faced the overwhelming storm of Operation Overlord. Nearly immediately, he recognized that Germany could no longer win the war. In private meetings, he suggested negotiations. When asked what should be done to stop the Allied advance, he famously replied, "Make peace, you fools." That honesty cost him his position, again. After Germany's collapse, von Rundstedt was captured by Allied forces. He was questioned extensively about war crimes, particularly regarding atrocities committed on the Eastern Front. Though evidence tied his command structures to mass killings, his advanced age and declining health prevented a full courtroom trial. Released from custody in 1948, he lived quietly under medical care until his death in 1953. Unlike many of his peers, he never wrote memoirs nor attempted to clear his name publicly. His legacy remains complicated, one foot in professional military tradition, the other in service to a criminal regime. Among Hitler's most capable battlefield commanders, two names stand above many others in terms of operational talent: Albert Kesselring and Erich von Manstein. Both men were military geniuses in different arenas, and both would face the brutal reality of post-war justice. Kesselring began his career in World War I and transitioned into the Luftwaffe during the rearmament years. He became one of Germany's most important air commanders and later one of the key defenders of Italy after the Allied landings in 1943. Against overwhelming odds, Kesselring orchestrated a masterful defensive campaign that delayed the Allied advance for more than a year. But behind that operational brilliance lay darker orders. German forces under his command were involved in brutal anti-partisan reprisals, including mass executions of civilians. After the war, British military courts charged Kesselring with war crimes connected to these actions. Initially sentenced to death, his punishment was later reduced to life imprisonment. Due to failing health, he was released early in 1952. He spent his final years active in veterans organizations defending the honor of former German soldiers until his death in 1960. Manstein followed a similar arc of tactical brilliance and moral failure. He was one of the chief architects behind Germany's stunning victory over France in 1940, and later became a leading commander on the Eastern Front. His operations captured vast Soviet territories and inflicted massive casualties. Yet Manstein also issued orders that enabled mass executions behind the lines. After the war, he stood trial under British jurisdiction. Convicted of war crimes, he was sentenced to prison but released early due to health concerns. In his later years, Manstein became an advisor to the new West German military and published memoirs portraying himself as a soldier detached from Nazi ideology, a claim widely criticized by historians. He died in 1973, still regarded as one of the most controversial commanders of the war. If Manstein and Kesselring represented battlefield intelligence, then Alfred Jod and Wilhelm Keitel represented something far more dangerous: total obedience. Both served at the very heart of Germany's military command structure. They were not frontline tacticians. Instead, they were the man who signed the orders, many of which authorized executions, collective punishments, and brutal occupation policies. Jado was the chief of operations for the German High Command. He signed documents initiating wars of aggression and overseeing directives that shattered international law. Keitel, often mocked as Hitler's yes man, approved orders that authorized reprisals against civilians and political prisoners. At the Nuremberg Trials, both men faced overwhelming evidence. Unlike some others, they mounted little defense beyond claims of obedience to authority. The tribunal rejected that argument completely. Both were convicted on all major counts: crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. In October 1946, they were executed by hanging. Their deaths marked the final collapse of the military leadership that once ruled Europe through fear and fire. The stories of these men reveal something deeply unsettling. Brilliant strategy, personal courage, and technical skill did not prevent moral collapse. Some lived long enough to rewrite their own narratives. Others faced justice directly beneath the gallows. But none escaped the shadow of what they helped unleash upon the world. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us continue uncovering the hidden stories of history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.